There are still about 5 days left to go in the current update, so I don't think it's too late to talk about one of the Star Trek commanders that people have been asking me about for the duration of the update. I'm just now getting around to making a video about it, though. Would have made one last week, but I was on a bit of a vacation from this game. We're back now, though, so there should be more content this week, starting today with our look at the Borg Queen. I'll show you the build here. We've got her at the helm of the legendary tier IJN battleship Yamato, and we're also wearing the unique camo that you can buy alongside the Borg Queen if you want. Certainly makes the Yamato look more evil. Anyway, we're going to run down the unique skills and unique skill setup of the Borg Queen. I think out of all the Star Trek commanders, this is probably one of the top ones because she offers the IJN battleships something that they didn't previously have. However, hold that thought for a moment. This commander's base trait is very strange. Take a look at that salvo there. You see, we are going to dev strike the Voyager. I think that has a lot less to do with the commander itself than it does with Iakino being one of the inspirations, and of course the Yamato just being a good ship. But if you paid attention, you'll have noticed my reload time after shooting the main battery guns with the AP was 25 seconds. Yamato's reload time is normally 27 seconds if you have the reload mod. And if you were to put the Borg Queen at the helm of Yamato and look at the stats page, you would still see 27 seconds. But the base trait on the Borg Queen says there's a 3.2% buff to the battleship's AP reload time. For some reason, though, that doesn't show up on the stats sheet. I think you have to just shoot the AP, and if you shoot HE, then after those shells leave your guns, you're still going to be stuck with a 27-second reload. Really weird, but a buff to Yamato's reload, courtesy of this base trait, is nice. The base trait also slightly increases the main battery AP shell damage by 1.6%. I don't know if that's a base trait that you're going to want to put on any commanders for inspirations. Maybe Azerlane, New Jersey or something. I don't know. Probably not, but it's a helpful base trait for the Yamato itself. And then as for the skill tree, in the first row of skills, the Borg Queen has Flammable Cannoneer, which of course we have selected. It's going to give us a little bit more main battery range and a little bit more main battery shell grouping, but of course it will increase the chance that we get lit on fire. In the second row, you've got a choice between Crisscross, Gyrating Drill Bits, and Firefighter. I've gone for Crisscross. Gyrating Drill Bits, of course, also gives you better turret traverse, but it reduces the speed at which your battleship goes, and it gives you a massive AP buff. I don't like reducing the speed on the battleship. I like the AP buff. You could really go either way on that, but Crisscross is what I've been doing lately, just to avoid the speed nerf. And then it's the third row of skills where things get interesting on the Borg Queen, because you've got a choice between On Second Thought, which I doubt is all that useful for something like the Yamato. Helps with reducing the reload time if the main battery guns are fully loaded, so you can switch from AP to HE. But I don't know why you would ever need to do that in the Yamato. AP all the way. Just ask the Wisconsin. Even these AP shells can find his underwater citadel from distances like that. We're up to 134,000 damage, by the way, and we have the high caliber metal in less than 4 minutes. Pretty crazy. Anyway, along with On Second Thought in the third row, you can also use Marksman for better dispersion and a nerf to the rudder shift, or, more importantly, you can take Master Mechanic for extra heals in the third row, which is interesting. That'll mean you can buff it to make sure you get 2 extra heals instead of 1, a little bit quicker than you could on most other commanders, because on pretty much everybody else, Master Mechanic is on the fourth row of skills, but not on the Borg Queen. And that right there is the reason I think she's probably worth picking up if you're in the market for one of these paid special commanders, like the Star Trek collab ones. There's not too many battleship commanders in this game that combine Flammable Cannoneer and Master Mechanic on their skill tree. Other examples would be the infamous Henry J. Hyde, who I believe was one of the first to do that, or Azurlane Nelson. And that combo of Master Mechanic offering you the extra range, the extra accuracy, and then, Flammable Cannoneer offering you the extra range and extra accuracy, plus Master Mechanic offering you the extra heals. That combo, I think, is one of the best things you can get on any battleship commander. And then, of course, we have the Borg Queen's fourth row of skills with her unique skill. The two choices are Reaching Out XXL for a little bit of extra range, or the unique skill High Octane Warrior, which buffs the battleship speed and buffs the battleship projectile damage if the previous main battery shot was AP. Another weird parameter here on these commander skills. Of course, Reaching Out XXL is a very common one. This High Octane Warrior, I've got the Borg Queen at rank 14 Legendary 2. So at that rank, the High Octane Warrior skill gives you a 3% speed buff and a 6% damage buff to the AP. When you fully max it out, the damage buff is 10%. Quite significant, I would say, and the speed buff is 5%. I don't know that the Yamato is something that's desperately in need of extra speed. It's not a very fast battleship. I think we've got about 27 knots of speed with this build, and of course we're avoiding gyrating drill bits. I think the Yamato's fine in terms of speed if you avoid gyrating drill bits, but it's not like that little buff doesn't help. It's the buff to the main battery AP that I think is more significant. And you could go an alternative route on your inspirations with this commander if you do pick her up. Something that might synergize well with that last skill is Azurlane, New Jersey, in one of the inspiration slots, because after all, Yamato is more of a sniper than it is a brawler. Despite what people on the internet will tell you, this hull is absolutely abysmal for brawling, what with the infamous cheek weakness that you get in the front of the ship. So really, this is a more long-range battleship. And a lot of your salvos probably will be in excess of 10 kilometers. So Azurlane, New Jersey's base trait would help with that, plus the 6% buff you get from this skill. There's a lot of possibilities with the Borg Queen, but the bottom line, for me at least, is that this lady has got Flammable Cannoneer and Master Mechanic. And for that reason alone, much like Commander Riker, who is the reward for the still ongoing calendar event and is fine-tuned for the American hybrid battleships, much like him, I think the two of these commanders are probably worth getting. Although they are expensive, in order to acquire the Borg Queen, you would have to either try your luck on crates, which I don't recommend, or you can buy the commander for a flat price of 5,000 doubloons, which I think is about 20 or 30 bucks. So certainly not cheap, but as you can see, she does good things for the Yamato. We're only second on the leaderboard behind the Gdansk, but that thing's overpowered, so what are you gonna do? GG to that guy. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.